As we journey deeper into life, past the milestone of 70, our words take on a significance that often goes unnoticed. In this phase, connection becomes both more cherished and more fragile. Words that once seemed innocuous can unintentionally create distance, isolating us from the very people we hold dear. Many seniors find themselves speaking from a place of pain or disappointment, unaware that their expressions are slowly erecting invisible walls. The true tragedy lies in the fact that these individuals often mean well. They don't realize that certain phrases, repeated over time, can make others feel helpless, uncomfortable, or even rejected. If you've ever wondered why people check in less frequently, or why silence descends when you speak, it may not be your age that's the primary factor. It might be your words. This exploration isn't about sugarcoating reality or pretending that everything is perfect. Instead, it's about cultivating an understanding of how your voice can either construct bridges or burn them. The truth is, you're not alone in this experience. It's not merely age that leads to isolation, but the signals we unintentionally send to those around us. The good news is that once you recognize these patterns, you can actively change them, starting today. By identifying and modifying these phrases, you can transform your interactions and deepen your connections with loved ones. Let's delve into these 7 phrases that people over 70 often say, which can unintentionally drive others away, and explore how to reframe them to foster closer relationships. 1. The phrase, "I'm just a burden now." Few statements can silence a room as quickly as hearing someone say, "I'm just a burden now." This phrase may stem from deep exhaustion or quiet despair, but to those around you, it doesn't invite connection. It shuts it down. Those who care about you don't see you as a burden, but when you label yourself as such, they often don't know how to respond. They may feel helpless, guilty, or even resentful, not because they don't love you, but because they're unsure whether to offer comfort, challenge your statement, or simply remain silent. Over time, this can lead to people distancing themselves, afraid of triggering the same sad refrain again and again. When we speak this way, we unknowingly place others in a moral bind. It becomes a silent test. Prove you care, or you're part of the problem. That's a heavy burden for anyone to bear. The impact. Loneliness often begins not with physical absence, but with emotional shutdowns. Statements that block instead of build can erode relationships. Example: consider Helen, an 83-year-old retired school secretary from Pennsylvania. After her husband passed away, her daughter began visiting her weekly, bringing groceries and engaging in conversation. However, Helen started repeating the phrase, "You shouldn't waste your time on an old burden like me." Initially, her daughter reassured her, but eventually she began shortening her visits, not out of malice, but because every conversation ended in guilt. Helen didn't want to push her daughter away, but the phrase did exactly that. Reframing the phrase. Saying you're a burden isn't humility. It's a form of despair disguised as modesty, and despair repels the very warmth it secretly longs for. What builds connection is appreciation, not apology. Instead of, "You shouldn't have," try saying, "I'm so grateful you make time for me." Gratitude opens doors, while self-deprecation closes them. This shift in language isn't about pretending, it's about choosing words that invite love rather than deflect it. People want to be there for you. Don't make them feel like they're crossing a line by showing up. Practical advice. Acknowledge your feelings. Recognize that it's okay to feel vulnerable or dependent at times. Express gratitude. Focus on expressing appreciation for the support you receive. Share your needs positively. Instead of saying what you don't want to be a burden, articulate what you do need in a positive way. 2. The phrase, "No one understands me anymore." There's a quiet sting in the words, "No one understands me anymore." It can feel particularly true as the world rushes forward and your life starts to feel like it belongs to a different era. However, this phrase doesn't build bridges, it burns them. When you say it aloud, what others hear isn't just your pain, but a subtle accusation. It suggests they've failed you, or that their efforts to connect aren't good enough. When people feel they can't win, they eventually stop trying. What starts as an honest expression of loneliness can quickly turn into a wall. Over time, the people around you may stop sharing their thoughts or asking for yours because the message is clear. We're on different sides of a gap that can't be crossed. It's isolating, and not because you meant to push them away, but because the words did that for you. The impact. This phrase creates a sense of alienation and can discourage others from engaging with you. Example: consider Robert, a 79-year-old retired engineer from Ohio. His grandchildren would visit and talk about social media, video games, or music. At first, Robert listened, even if he didn't always follow along. But one day, after a story about their favorite new app, he said with a tired sigh, "I don't get any of this. I guess no one really understands me anymore." It was an offhand remark, but after that, they started coming around less. When they did visit, the conversations were shorter, the laughter more restrained. They didn't want to make him feel more out of place, so they stopped bringing him into their world. Reframing the phrase. Curiosity is more powerful than resignation, even if the world feels foreign. Asking, "What do you enjoy about that?" or "What does that mean?" keeps you inside the circle. You don't have to understand everything to stay connected. You just have to be willing to stay open. Instead of, "No one understands me anymore," try saying, "Tell me more about that. It sounds interesting." Practical advice. Cultivate curiosity. Show genuine interest in the lives and interests of others, even if they are different from your own. Ask open-ended questions. Encourage dialogue by asking questions that require more than a simple yes or no answer. Share your own experiences. Find common ground by sharing stories from your own life that relate to the conversation. 3. The phrase, "I've got nothing left to offer." Few statements carry as much silent resignation as the phrase, "I've got nothing left to offer." On the surface, it may sound like a passing expression of fatigue or humility, but underneath, it's a quiet surrender. When you speak those words often enough, you begin to believe them. More importantly, the people around you start to believe them too, and that's where the damage begins. The impact. This phrase creates a kind of emotional vacancy. It tells your children, your friends, and even your neighbors that you've checked out, that your wisdom, your humor, your presence, none of it is in play anymore. It subtly discourages others from leaning on you, from including you, from inviting you into conversations where your experience could shine. Example: Elaine, an 81-year-old who had lived a rich life as a teacher and community volunteer. But after her husband passed, she slowly stopped attending church groups or neighborhood meetings. When asked if she'd join in, she'd simply say, "Oh, I've got nothing left to offer." Eventually, they stopped asking. She thought she was being modest, even sparing others the trouble, but in truth, she was silencing the very voice that had once uplifted her community. Reframing the phrase. You always have something to offer. Your stories, your presence, your perspective. These are not small things. In fact, they're irreplaceable. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give is just to show up, to listen, to share a laugh, or to remind someone that they're not alone. Instead of, I've got nothing left to offer. Try saying, I may not have the energy I used to, but I'm still here. Or, I may be older, but I still care deeply. Practical advice. Recognize your strengths, reflect on your past experiences, and identify the skills and knowledge you still possess. Find meaningful activities. Engage in activities that allow you to share your talents and contribute to your community. Offer support and encouragement. Sometimes the most valuable thing you can offer is a listening ear or a word of encouragement. The phrase, I don't want to be a burden. This one sounds noble. It's laced with humility, self-restraint, and what appears to be consideration for others. But underneath that soft exterior, the phrase, I don't want to be a burden, carries a deeply isolating weight. For many older adults, repeating this thought becomes a form of quiet self-erasure. The impact, when you keep saying it, even in small ways, you start to shrink your presence in the lives of those who actually want to be there for you. It may start as declining a ride to the doctor, brushing off an invitation to dinner, or avoiding a conversation about how you're really doing. Each time it seems harmless, but slowly, those around you begin to believe you truly don't want help, don't want company, don't want connection, and so they stop offering. Example: Paul, age 84, had 3 grown kids who lived within an hour's drive. But whenever they'd ask if he needed anything, groceries, errands, even just some company, he'd always say, No, I'm fine. I don't want to be a burden. After a while, the calls came less often, not because they didn't love him, but because they didn't want to intrude. Paul was left sitting at home wondering why no one came around anymore, not realizing it was the very phrase he kept repeating that built the walls around him. Reframing the phrase. Letting others help isn't being a burden, it's being human, and it's giving them the opportunity to love you through action, which is often the deepest kind of connection we can offer each other. Instead of, I don't want to be a burden, try saying, Thank you, I'd really appreciate that, or it means a lot that you asked. Practical advice. 1. Accept help gracefully. Allow others to assist you without guilt or hesitation. 2. Express your needs clearly. Communicate your needs and preferences in a straightforward manner. 3. Reciprocate when possible. Offer assistance or support to others in ways that are meaningful to you. 5. The phrase, It's too late for me. Few phrases shut the door on possibility faster than, It's too late for me. It sounds final, even harmless, but it plants a subtle, persistent seed of defeat. When repeated often enough, this idea doesn't just end opportunities, it erodes hope, dignity, and the chance for change. The impact. Age doesn't disqualify you from growth, purpose, or even joy. When you say, It's too late for me, you stop your own momentum before it has the chance to begin. You take yourself out of the game before anyone else does. That's the tragedy, because most of the time, the door wasn't closed. It just needed a nudge. Example: Gloria, who was 79 at the time. Her husband had passed, Her children lived far away, and she'd given up on most social activities. One day, at a small community luncheon, someone asked if she'd ever thought about volunteering. Gloria smiled and said softly, "It's too late for me." The moment passed, but it stuck because I saw in her eyes that she didn't believe she had anything left to offer. That phrase, just 5 words, had become her excuse to stay hidden from life. Reframing the phrase. Some of the most meaningful things we do in life happen in the later chapters. Think about it. Wisdom matures, compassion deepens. Even simple gestures like a kind word or a story shared over coffee become powerful. Many people find that after 70, the expectations fade and freedom emerges. Not the freedom to give up, but the freedom to live on your own terms. Instead of, "It's too late for me," try asking, "What's still possible?" Practical advice. 1. Challenge limiting beliefs. Identify and challenge the beliefs that hold you back from pursuing your goals and dreams. 2. Set achievable goals. Break down larger goals into smaller, more manageable steps. 3. Celebrate small victories. Acknowledge and celebrate your progress, no matter how small. 6. The phrase, "No one needs me anymore." There's a quiet kind of pain that settles in when someone starts believing they're no longer needed. The phrase, "No one needs me anymore," doesn't just express loneliness, it carries the weight of invisibility, of feeling left behind by a world that seems to move on without you. For many older adults, especially those who've spent a lifetime taking care of others, this phrase can feel like the final closing chapter. The impact. Often it's not that you're no longer needed, it's that the ways you're needed have simply changed. In your younger years, maybe you were raising kids, managing a household, or contributing at work. That role gave you a clear sense of purpose. But now in your 70s or 80s, purpose doesn't always come with a title. It comes in the form of wisdom passed down, presence offered freely, and kindness shared without fanfare. Example: Leonard, at 83, lived alone and mostly kept to himself. He often told his neighbor, "I don't know why I'm still here. No one needs me." But one winter, during a power outage, that same neighbor came by, asking for help starting a generator. Leonard had spent his life working as a mechanic. In that moment, all his years of knowledge mattered deeply, and more importantly, he felt it. He didn't say, "No one needs me," again. Reframing the phrase. Feeling needed isn't about being busy or in demand. It's about knowing you can still make a difference, even in quiet, simple ways. A phone call to a friend, a note of encouragement to a younger family member, a memory shared with a neighbor. These are not small acts. They are lifelines, and they remind others and ourselves that our presence carries weight. Instead of, "No one needs me anymore," try saying, "I'm here if you need anything," or "I'm always happy to listen." Practical advice. Identify your unique talents. Recognize the skills and knowledge you possess that can benefit others. Volunteer your time. Offer your services to organizations or individuals in need. Stay connected with others. Maintain regular contact with friends, family, and neighbors. 7. The phrase, "It's too late to change." This phrase carries the heaviest lock on the door of possibility. Saying, "It's too late to change," shuts down the mind, the heart, and the future in one sentence. It's a phrase that tells you to stop trying, to stop dreaming, to sit down quietly and let the rest of life pass you by. The impact. It's almost never too late, unless you believe it is. What we often forget is that Aging isn't a closing act. It's just a different chapter. You may not be as fast as you once were, or as physically strong, but what you've gained in life experience, emotional insight, and spiritual depth is priceless. That kind of richness doesn't come in your 30s or 40s. It's earned over decades, and it's meant to be used, shared, and lived, not hidden under the blanket of, "It's too late." Example: Clarence didn't write his first book until he was 82. He'd always wanted to, but life kept getting in the way. After losing his wife, he sat down and started writing, not because he thought the world was waiting, but because his soul needed it. That book became a gift, not just for his grandchildren, but for strangers who found comfort in his words. None of that would have happened if Clarence had told himself it was too late. Reframing the phrase, "It's too late," is never really about time, it's about fear. It's fear that you'll fail, or that no one will care, or that you'll be embarrassed for trying. But what's worse than failing is not trying at all and carrying the quiet ache of regret for the rest of your days. Instead of, "It's too late to change," try asking, "What can I do today to make a difference?" Practical advice: embrace lifelong learning. Continue to seek new knowledge and skills regardless of your age. Pursue new interests. Explore hobbies and activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Cultivate a growth mindset. Believe in your ability to learn and grow throughout your life. Conclusion: rewriting your narrative. As we grow older, the words we choose begin to shape the emotional landscape of our days. They can either build bridges or put up walls. The 7 phrases we've explored today may seem harmless at first, but over time they chip away at our connections, confidence, and peace of mind. Most of us don't even realize we're saying them. They become habits, tucked into the folds of everyday conversation, quietly doing their damage. Awareness is the first step to change. Once you recognize these patterns, you can choose differently. You can speak life into your days. You can offer yourself grace, and you can extend that grace to others. The way we talk to ourselves and the way we speak to those around us matters more than we often admit. And after 70, every word counts a little more because the people who truly listen are fewer, and the moments that truly matter become clearer. Key takeaways: be mindful of your words. Pay attention to the phrases you use and their potential impact on others. Reframe negative thoughts. Challenge negative self-talk and replace it with positive affirmations. Cultivate meaningful connections. Nurture relationships with loved ones and seek out opportunities for social engagement. Embrace change and growth. Believe in your ability to learn, grow, and make a difference regardless of your age. Express gratitude and appreciation. Focus on expressing gratitude for the support and love you receive. You are not stuck in the language of the past. You are not bound to the phrases you've always used. You have the power to rewrite your narrative, not just for yourself, but for the people who love you and the community you live in. You still have time to uplift, to encourage, and to show others what strength, wisdom, and grace look like in their most authentic form. We'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned from this discussion, and how do you plan to use it in your life? Your thoughts are important, so don't hesitate to share them. If you found this discussion helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs and inspires. Thanks for reading, and we look forward to connecting with you in the next video.